Hello everybody, it's Tim here again, here another movie review, this time for Nosferatu. Now, Nosferatu, this new one, is one that I just recently got to see, and I gotta say I really enjoyed it. For me, from 1 to 4, it's easily a full price movie. It would be a 4 out of 4. This is like a masterpiece film. For me it is. This film won't appeal to everybody because I think some people will find it kind of slow and stuff. It's directed by Robert Eggers, and Robert Eggers, he's a director who I like, but I don't love. I haven't liked everything he's done. I don't really remember. I think he did The Northman. I don't remember that one that much. I need to watch it again to see how I'd feel about it watching it now. I did not like The Witch. It was just such a predictable story, and it just didn't suck me into the atmosphere of the film, which is what it's more about. And with this film right here, it is more about the atmosphere as well. But I really like the atmosphere here. This is really more of like a gothic horror film. If you're expecting like a movie about like the vampire or whatever, like slashing and gashing and cutting people left and right, you're really not going to get it here. This is much more of just like a gothic horror, old school vampire type flick. I will say it does start to feel a little long because it's over 2 hours, I think. But at the same time, the length of the film didn't personally bother me, but I think that could be something that would put off some viewers. But for me, it didn't really bother me. Nosferatu, the original, it came out in 1922. I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 4 for that one. I really enjoyed the original silent film Nosferatu. I didn't love it, but I did really like it. It is a film of its era. That's not going to be for everybody. The first remake that they did, the one I believe by Werner Herzog did it. That one I thought was good, or at least decent. I think I remember thinking it was decent, more like a 2.5 out of 4. Um, but it was like a good effort. My problem with that one was it was pretty much the same exact movie, just with like some minor alterations, with like kind of a different ending. But it really was back when they were doing like when they said remake, it really was a remake. It's really just kind of like more modernizing the same film. It's pretty much the same film, and that's kind of my problem with that. And with this one right here, it is a remake. They stick to most of the same story, but this director does do his own thing. Robert Eggers does, and I really like The Lighthouse as well. That was an amazing film with great atmosphere. I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, he really does. He still keeps to the spirit of what the material is, but he alters it enough to where it feels fresh. This one is much more honestly about like female sexuality. You got like the main female here, who's played by Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter, and I've seen her in maybe some other stuff in smaller roles, and I really thought she was that great. Here, she impressed me, at least in terms of her acting thus far, in terms of the films I've seen her in. She did a great job. Nobody in the cast is bad. I will say at certain points the acting does feel a bit overacted from time to time, but I don't really put that on the actors. It's just because they're trying to play to the period that this movie takes place in. They're trying to use those over-the-top lines, like poppycock or whatever, that kind of stuff. And so it does start to feel a little over-the-top at certain points, but I don't put that on the actors. That's just the way they're having to play it because this is more true to how people acted back then. Bill Skarsgård is the best performance in the film for me. I've heard some people didn't like his Count Orlok. Some people didn't because they wanted something like, I guess, more monstrous or more like not so much more monstrous, but more charismatic or whatever, I guess. And something that would be shot in a way to where it'd just be like more straight up creepy and everything. Here, this one's just more of like a freak. It's just like a creature who's just like extremely ugly and repellent and everything. There's nothing like sexually attractive about this thing at all. He's ugly as fuck. But Bill Skarsgård totally disappears into the role. I wasn't sure about the mustache at first when I saw it, but honestly, I got used to it. I had no problem with it by the end of the movie. But he gives an awesome performance in this film, and it just really works because you really can't even tell it's him. He just completely disappears into this role. Excellent performance, the best performance I've seen from him thus far. He's starting to become one of those actors who's really more about like the transformation and everything. Like he changed up his look for that Crow reboot that they did, which a lot of people didn't like that movie, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was I just thought it was average. It just didn't remind me of. It didn't have a lay a finger on the original, but it didn't really remind me of the original at all. It was pretty much just like its own thing. To me, that one could have just been another Crow sequel. But yeah, here with Nosferatu, he just totally disappears in the role. Nicholas Hoult plays like the dude in the movie who's like pretty much in the Jonathan Harker role. And yes, like Nosferatu, the original was pretty much an unauthorized adaptation of Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, to the point where even his like Bram Stoker's widow like tried to sue him to not have the film ever released and all copies destroyed, but some survived and they managed to like piece the film together eventually. So you'll see a lot of similarities like the Dracula story in this. But yeah, this one's much more about like female sexuality in a way, or of the time period, because you got like Lily Rose Depp's character who's like this chick who's like super horny and she didn't know how to deal with it or whatever because there wasn't anything back in those days to help women deal with like their sexuality, and they were taught to repress it and everything. So she let it out and wanted like some creature or anything, entity, angel or demon, to come satisfy her sexual appetite. And so Count Orlok, Nosferatu, shows that Bill Skarsgård, and he pretty much just uses her as a sex toy. pretty much. He keeps sending her like demonic visions and everything. In a way, I kind of like this because in all the other versions, she was just kind of like having visions of Count Orlok, and it's never really explained why. She just kind of was. Here, it does make more sense, which I appreciated. I will say, in terms of like Lily Rose Depp's performance at certain times when she's like obviously being possessed by Count Orlok and she's like rolling her eyes in the back of her head and everything, all that kind of crazy shit. It does start to feel a little bit like The Exorcist, but she does excellent in making like these crazy psychotic faces and shit. It really works. And then you got William Dafoe shows up in here, kind of in the Van Helsing role, which was cool. William Dafoe's always fun to have around. Nicholas Hoult is in the castle or whatever. And by the time he gets in there and gets to see what Count Orlok looks like, by then it's just too late. He can't get the fuck out of there. But yeah, the special effects are also really good in this and everything. And just like, it just has a really good atmosphere about it. Like I keep saying, this is a very atmospheric movie by Robert Eggers, which is more of in tune with like his films. But I just keep saying that because people expecting like a blood and guts type thing out of this or whatever, they're not going to get it. This is not a film that's interested in being like straight in your face, super scary or whatever. This is a gothic type horror film. It's about the atmosphere. It's not about like trying to be super scary. It's about getting you into the mood, and therefore when the terror scenes happen, you do kind of get affected by it because you're into the film. This is more of a style movie. A movie more about style, I should say. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Not so much style over substance, because I feel like the style that the movie's going for works with it equally. But it is a film that is all about the style and the way it looks and everything. So it's not a film that's trying to be like super horrifying and in your face and all that. It's not trying to be like super scary. It's more of like trying to capture the period and the look and feel of what it's going for, which for me that works because I like the old gothic feel of this flick. It does work for me here. And you get like a scene where Count Orlok's like shadow or whatever of his hand and shit is like all over the town and all that. This is really cool. Of course he wants to like buy a place or whatever so he can come to this town to find this Lily Rose Depp's character, and while he's there he brings a plague with him, and the only way eventually to defeat him or whatever is for Lily Rose Depp's character to like give in to her sexual lusts or whatever that are inherent to her. That way it can be used to destroy Count Orlok, because he'll be there, and that's how you pretty much defeat the evil, is by recognizing that this sexuality is a part of you, is basically kind of what the message they're going for there with her character. So she does that and he starts feeding on her. It's kind of the same thing as the original film, but here it works because they make the like dynamic between these two, they give it more to chew on by having him like you know, have him be like summoned basically from her sexual appetite, so that adds more to it. And he's feeding on her or whatever, and then the sunlight hits him. He doesn't disintegrate, he just starts like bleeding blood out of his eyes and everything, and like falls over dead on top of her. And Nicholas Hoult comes in, he's like holding her hand and everything, and so it is kind of a bittersweet sad ending, but it works for the type of story that we're going for here. And she dies in a self-sacrifice way to take this creature out. And also I like the whole theme idea in the movie of how Count Orlok can only like basically come after her and all that, and kind of haunt her when her husband isn't around, because that's when her desires basically aren't being nullified by the love she has for her man, is what it is, and they have for each other with Nicholas Holt's character. And when he is around, she feels safe and comforted because the man she loves is there, so that pretty much like cancels out like Count Orlok for the most part, because he doesn't seem to attack her much whenever Nicholas Holt's character is there. He doesn't seem to like give her a lot of visions and everything, except for like that one sequence where she was like doing like the eyes rolling in the back of the head, and it was kind of similar to The Exorcist, and her and Nicholas Hoult like start screwing or whatever, and it's like, show him, let him see our love or whatever, which yeah, obviously is a way to show that her carnal desires are being satisfied by her husband and all that, you know. I get it. It is like a kind of a sexual like theme or whatever, which vampires have kind of always had that. Like the whole idea of them biting you on the neck and turning you into a vampire is kind of like a metaphor for sexually transmitted disease. I get it. But yeah, overall 4 out of 4. I thought this was a masterpiece film. I would say this is my favorite Robert Eggers film, but I haven't seen The Northman in a long time. I did not like The Witch, at least when I first saw it. Maybe if I watched it again, I would feel differently. But when I first saw it, I was not into that, especially after all the hype it had behind it. But yeah, overall, this was 4 out of 4. This is my favorite film I've seen this year so far, which I believe it came out. Did it come out last year, like the end of last year? Or no, it came out this year. Yeah. Or no, it did come out towards the end of last year. Yeah, I believe that was it. But yeah, this is easily my favorite film I have watched recently. This is a really good film. It's masterpiece level for me. There are some minor flaws here and there, but overall this is a 4 out of 4. So I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.